I was a baby when my mom met my sister's dad. Something like 5 or 6 months old, not totally sure. He was straight up with her that I would not be important to him because I was someone else's daughter. She was fine with that. Sounds like they moved in together within a few weeks of dating, and he was never any kind of on with me. I was 4 when they had my sister, Katie. They were married at this time, too. Katie was always the apple of her dad's eye. She and I had a very off relationship. Sometimes we got along kind of okay, but I will pull back when she would start praising her dad and telling me how lucky we were to have him as our dad, even after her dad told her I was not his kid, and she was the only person in the world who mattered to him. She would still bring him up to me as being amazing to us. Our mom was often around to tell me I needed to accept that I had a different dad to Katie, and that needed to be okay. She told me kids have different parents all the time, and are still siblings and should be close. Katie got everything, while I got nothing, a fact that she would point out a lot. Why don't you have nice clothes? And why don't you eat with us? Why don't you come to the amusement park with me and Dad, etc.? She'd tell me to ask for it. One time, she followed me around all day to ask Dad for new clothes, and to get her off my back, I did. He asked me why the hell I was asking him for anything, and that was that. Katie said I gave up too easily. When my mom got sick when I was 16, I decided it was time to speak the full truth to Katie so she would hopefully understand. She claimed that her dad was still my dad because he had raised me, and that I should still treat him like my dad. She was 100% dismissive of everything. She was 12, so understandable. I moved out just before my 18th birthday, and then Mom died. It came as no surprise to me that I wasn't welcome. Katie wanted me there, but her dad made it clear it was not the place for me. And to be honest, I hated my mom, so I wasn't sad to miss the funeral. Katie's dad was diagnosed with terminal lung disease and liver disease after not taking care of himself. I'm 24 and Katie is 20, and she called when they got the news saying we would need to help take care of him. I told Katie no way. She said we can't just leave him, that we owe him better than to leave him to rot alone and unwanted. I told her I owe that man nothing, that he hated me and did nothing for me, and I do not care to comfort him in his final months. She told me she could not do it alone. I told her she would need to let others help her, but I was not going to care for the man who verbally berated me for not being his, when I had no choice in any of it. She called me selfish, and said I should be doing it for her then, because she needs my help and I'm all that she has in the world. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She was a kid when it happened, but she is old enough to know better now. Your mother is the a-hole for marrying this guy in the first place. He stole your childhood and you owe him nothing. You owe her nothing as well. Not the a-hole. And honestly, both of those adults were awful. Your mom should never have let someone into their life that outright hated you. Katie's dad for being an absolute a-hole to a child. I can understand Katie's naivety, maybe until she was 14, not now. But her dad is her problem. Not the a-hole. Katie sounds self-absorbed to the point of selfishness. Your stepfather was awful to you. Your mother allowed him to be. So sad that you had such a shallow woman as your mother. She turned her back on her 6-month-old baby, sacrificing your emotional needs in order to secure a husband. That era of your life is now over. Do not let Katie drag you back there. Missing backstory, but basically my sister-in-law has harbored a lot of jealousy towards me for years. My hubs and I were dating long before sister-in-law and brother-in-law, so we got engaged, married, etc., all before she did. Sister-in-law's attempted to steal attention at every event we've had, getting wasted at my wedding, refusing to speak to me at my bridal shower, etc. I've really tried to keep the peace. I'm not a competitive person. In 2020, I got pregnant with our first baby. Unfortunately, I had a miscarriage at 9 weeks. It was extremely difficult to go through. Not even several weeks after that, sister-in-law had a party where she invited me and our immediate family to announce her pregnancy, to surprise me in front of everyone, all while knowing I had just had a loss. It was devastating to sit there and pretend to smile when I wanted to burst into tears. I never did get a "I'm sorry for your loss." Anyway, I ended up getting pregnant about 4 months later. Sister-in-law was not excited, refused to acknowledge my pregnancy, never did say congratulations, and I believe was quite jealous I was taking the spotlight. It's now been over a year and a half of having our little ones, and in July I found out we are having our second. I'm 16 weeks and was going to tell our family at Thanksgiving. Yesterday I got a text that sister-in-law had a late miscarriage at 12 weeks and is in postpartum recovery and is devastated. I am so sad for them. I write a really heartfelt message and decide I'm going to drop off flowers. I deliver the flowers to the driveway and let her know they are there and drive away. As I'm driving, she says she's in the backyard and asks to meet with me. I think, wow, this is a great time to have a heart-to-heart. I give her a long hug and I listen. Several times she says, if it was earlier, it would have been easier, or if it was at the first scan, like mine was. I say nothing. I keep supporting. Then we are talking about timeline of children, and I'm avoiding answering. Then she flat out asks me, when are you planning your next child? I'm silent. She pushes, and I finally say, I'm really sorry, sister-in-law, but we are expecting, and I completely understand if you're hurt, angry, need time to process. She seems okay, and we keep talking and hug goodbye. I thought, wow, that was a really good conversation, and I'm glad she was told in private, although I wish she never asked. I wasn't ready. An hour later, I get this text. Hey, so you have made me beyond upset than I was already. This is my breaking point for how disrespectful and selfish you are towards me and my family. Every event in our lives, you have to come and say something to bring attention to you. Baby shower, you're pregnant, she's born, you tell me gender. Now I had a miscarriage and confide in you about how broken I am. And guess what? You decide that's an appropriate time to tell me you're pregnant. Thank you for the flowers, but they were given with ill intent. They were on my back porch for you to pick up. Not the a-hole. She is so toxic, you should just be happy she made no contact for a while. She sounds exhausting. Wait, you told people you were pregnant at her baby shower and announced the gender at the birth of her kid? Honestly, if that's true, it sounds like y'all are two peas in a pod. No, I was pregnant at her baby shower. After my miscarriage, I got pregnant, and so during her baby shower, I was visibly pregnant, and I guess that upset her. Although it was a virtual shower because of virus, so no one could actually see my belly. But I did tell our family our happy news about a month or two before her shower. And the gender reveal was when I finally met her daughter, 3 weeks later because of virus. I told her in person that I was having a girl too. And I was so excited to have girls together. That was the reveal at her birth. It was actually on my birthday, the only day she accepted for me to come and visit her. You're not the a-hole. She was pushing you to know when you're planning your next kid. Were you supposed to lie and then say, surprise, kid's here, when it comes out sooner than expected? Like, I get it. Miscarriages are awful things, and hearing that someone close to you is bad for your mental health. But it is kind of on her for pushing you about when you're going to have another kid, in my opinion. Not the a-hole. She shouldn't have asked the question if she didn't want the answer. My 22 female sister, 32 female, has been married for almost 6 years. Her relationship with her partner, 33 male, used to go very well, but she wanted to have kids as soon as they got married, and that made her husband start to resent her. He always makes jokes about how he would have liked to enjoy more time alone with her. They moved in together after getting married. But the way he says it is weird. I don't know. It doesn't sound like a joke, you know? The point is that I recently got married and my relationship with my husband, 30 male, is going very well, and that annoys my sister apparently. The other day we were on a Zoom call with my family for my birthday, and I showed them everything that he had prepared for me. My mom had asked me to show them. I showed them how he decorated the whole house for me, the gifts, and even the cake that he baked for me. And my sister started making bitter comments about our relationship. My mom loved everything, and she told my husband that everything was very beautiful. But my sister just laughed and said that he was being so extra. And then she said that the day we have our first child, we don't have children, and we want to wait a few years to have them. He is going to forget that I exist, and that in a few years, he will not even want to touch me like he does now. She said that because we are very affectionate with each other, and we are always hugging and kissing, etc. The worst part is that she said all that as if it were a joke, but I didn't like it. She realized that her comment made me feel uncomfortable, and she just said, "Oh, sorry, I didn't want to burst your bubble." I was so mad, but I didn't want to say something to hurt her, so I told them that I had things to do and that I was going to hang up the call. But when we were saying goodbye, she said something like I was going to cry because she told me how I was going to end my relationship, and I couldn't contain myself. So I told her that it wasn't my fault that her marriage was a failure, and that there was no need to ruin my birthday like that. And I told her to solve her marriage problems in therapy and stop being so envious, that it was not my fault if she chose the wrong man. And I hung up the call. My mom talked to me later and said she told me that my sister was an idiot, but that I shouldn't have been so rude to her because she is having a difficult time in her marriage. But I don't care. Why should I hide my happiness just because she is not happy? It's so unfair. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Not only was she being bitter and lashing out, but to do it on your birthday. That's a pretty crappy sister move. Her marriage issues are not your fault, and she sounds like the type of person to do that kind of thing with anyone she sees in a happy relationship, because she's jealous. She needs to work on her own crap, instead of making herself feel better by ruining everyone else's happiness. Everyone sucks here. Your sister is hurting. She's not handling it well and taking it out on you when she should find healthier ways of coping. That said, if you knew this or felt it, you might have been kinder when setting your boundary. You could have left out the jealousy bit as it's tired and instead, ideally, patiently tell her that her opinions of your relationship are her business and you'd like for her to keep them to herself. Oof, but not gonna lie. The age thing has weirded me out. And also, what if your sister said all those things because she genuinely sees your husband as a predatory creep? Listen, I don't know all the details here. It's just a little more complicated than how I think you're portraying it. Not the a-hole. I would have said the same thing. People who have crappy marriages love to say, wait till you have kids, and all the things like that when they really do need to work on their problems, and stop acting like everyone is going to have them too. If anything, she needs to apologize, because doing that on your birthday was just so rude and uncalled for. I'm a mother of two, 21 female, Zoe, and 17 female, Bea. Their biological father was a narcissist and would demean Zoe and Bea. It took years of court battles, but my husband, Tim, and I finally got full custody when Zoe was 16. Zoe had been in therapy since my initial divorce. Zoe has always had a tendency to be demanding and cruel to others. I myself have gone to therapy and taken parenting classes to help Zoe. I've read books and tried every resource available. A big help was having Zoe channel those emotions into positive outlets, such as kickboxing. Zoe used to enjoy therapy, but called it a waste of time and chose to stop going when she turned 18. Zoe now refuses to find positive outlets for her emotions. Zoe weaponizes her experiences with her biological father and feels they give her the right to mistreat others. She lives at home rent-free while Tim and I pay for her education, $56,000 plus yearly, car, phone, and all other expenses. Zoe refuses to help around the house. Asking Zoe to do any small chore, refilling our dog's bowl, turns into Zoe screaming and swearing while I have to de-escalate. Zoe believes she is entitled to our money and curses at us because we are saving money for Bea's education as well, instead of giving it all to Zoe so she can have fun money. Tim and I left the house last Sunday for a doctor's appointment. I learned Monday from Bea that Zoe had gone on a rant about how I was a selfish bee since I asked her to put a frozen meal in the oven because Tim was feeling tired and he would need food ready as soon as we got home. Tim is a cancer survivor. He completed chemotherapy at the beginning of the year. He is still weak and sick often, yet has continued to work from home to help support us. Zoe told Bea that Tim is a ducking grown man. Why can't he make his own damn food instead of me doing everything because he's ducking useless? Hearing Zoe say that about the man who supported and nurtured her and was a father to her when her biological father didn't care to was my breaking point. When Zoe came home, I explained her car is still in her name and her last year of college has been paid already. I told her that she had a month to move out and the year's end to find her own insurance. We will pay for nothing anymore. Tim and I will no longer be treated as ATMs and burdens while providing everything for her. If she wants to act like she's an adult who knows everything, then we will treat her as one and let her support herself. Zoe will likely be staying with her grandparents. My sister is unable to house Zoe due to her lease agreement, but she has told me that I am the worst person she has ever met because you never turn your back on family, and I know Zoe's childhood with her biological father will always have changed her. But Zoe's trauma doesn't give her the right to mistreat others, especially the people who have helped and supported her more than anyone. Am I the a-hole? You've tried therapy, classes, you financed her schooling. The only last-ditch effort you might have made would have been to warn her she was on her last legs here. If the worst thing that happens is that she has to live with her grandparents, you're definitely not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. She too, to paraphrase her, is a ducking grown woman and has been a legal adult for 3 years. You're giving her a full month notice and she has a soft landing spot with her grandparents, not to mention college already paid for. I hope this is a wake-up call for her about how she treats others. She may have some trauma to deal with, but as she grows up, she'll realize almost everyone has their own crap to deal with, and it doesn't give you an excuse to treat people poorly. Not the a-hole. Your daughter is 21. This is plenty old enough to support herself and have her own place. You said her last year of college is already paid for, so it's not like her future is in jeopardy. You are correct. Her trauma does not give her the right to mistreat others. This isn't turning your back on family. This is protecting the rest of the family from her behavior, as well as giving her an important lesson in consequences. I am 28 male. My sister, Melissa, 23 female, began dating a guy with Asperger's syndrome. Let's call him Josh, 23 male. Melissa and Josh have been dating for a year and a half. We have met him, and all is well. Josh and I have a good relationship. I also want to note I have a good friendship with Melissa's ex, Ryan, whom they dated for 2 years. Ryan and Josh have met, but they don't get along very well. They fight often and rarely do get along. Now, I'm getting married in a few months. I've invited all of my friends and family, and even the significant others of my 2 other siblings. I also invited Ryan, Melissa's ex. I did not invite Josh. I didn't invite him because I felt like it would be weird as Ryan would be there, and the flashing lights would be overstimulating for him and would cause an overwhelming emotions for him. And I don't want him to be uncomfortable. Yes, Josh told me that a while ago. After this, Josh came over to see Melissa, and I went to break the news. I told Josh in the most sensitive way that he wasn't invited to the wedding, but I told him I was willing to go out with him for a day and do something fun together. Josh took the news badly, and he thought I didn't invite him because I liked Ryan more than him, which was not true. Josh also got annoyed with the fact that I didn't talk to him about the wedding first, and asked if he could come and we could accommodate him. But I felt like it won't be fair as it is our special night, so I said no. Josh was visibly upset, and I apologized, and I promised that we would do something very fun together to make it up to him. And Josh told me that he would feel better if Ryan didn't go. Melissa overheard the whole conversation and agreed that Ryan shouldn't go. And Josh made me to promise him that Ryan wouldn't go, and I promised. So I called Ryan and uninvited him, and Ryan got mad at me for uninviting him. I told him I was just trying to keep peace and I did not want to make it seem like I was choosing one. I told him that I was just trying to keep peace, and I did not want to make it seem like I was choosing one over the other. Ryan got mad at me and told me he was going to come either way. I told Ryan that he was being a jerk and he needs to respect our decision. Ryan hung up and didn't talk to me. So, am I the a-hole? Yes, the a-hole. You made a decision for Melissa and Josh without their input, claiming you know his comfort better than they do, and treated Josh like a child. You also chose Ryan over Josh. It would be weird as Ryan would be there, and then backtracked to choose Josh over Ryan. You must be a better friend than wedding planner if these men both still want to attend. It would be fine to exclude them both because they fight, but rescinding to Ryan and mansplaining to Josh make you the a-hole. Yes, the a-hole in so many ways. Firstly, neurodivergent people have the ability to judge whether a situation will be overwhelming for them. You do not need to make that decision. The correct thing to do would have been to invite him and quietly let him know that although you would love for him to be there, you appreciate that he has told you some aspects of the event would be overwhelming, and you would not be offended if he chose not to go. Secondly, uninviting a friend on the basis that another friend, who is not going, doesn't want him to go, is just bizarre and unbelievably rude. Yes, the a-hole. You should have talked this through with Josh before sending out the invitations if you were willing to break off your friendship with Ryan for this. Thinking ahead could have saved everyone heartache. Uninviting Ryan was total a-hole behavior, and I would not be surprised if he didn't want to talk to you again.